response to Haitians in Ohio filing a criminal complaint against former President Donald Trump and his running mate, Ohio Senator J.D. Vance, over their claims regarding Haitian migrants eating pets, Louisiana Republican Congressman Clay Higgins wrote in a now-deleted tweet on X, "Lol, these Haitians are wild, eating pets, voodoo, nastiest country in the Western Hemisphere, cults, slapstick gangsters, but damned if they don't feel all sophisticated now, filing charges against our president and VP. All these thugs better get their mind right and their ass out of our country before January 20th. This tweet followed on the heels of a story about Haitians in Ohio filing a criminal complaint against the GOP candidates Donald Trump and J.D. Vance.
Democratic lawmakers are calling the tweet racist, understandably, and House Leader Hakeem Jeffries wrote in a statement yesterday, quote, "The disgusting statement by Clay Higgins about the Haitian community is vile racist. Higgins is an election-denying, conspiracy-peddling, racial arsonist. Extreme MAGA Republicans in the House are unfit to govern."
The Congressional Black Caucus, called for Higgins to be censored, and CBC Chair Steve Horsford said, quote, "I hope that every member of this body understands, no person, particularly those who contribute to communities, that those individuals, those children, no longer have to live in fear or intimidation because of any words or quotes coming from members of this body." Several of Higgins' Republican colleagues also criticized him. Republican New York Representative Mike Lawler wrote on X, "The Haitian people are good and honorable people who contribute greatly to our country. No one should attack or disparage them. Let's do better." And Florida Republican Byron Donalds had a very productive conversation with Higgins in which he told him it was not a good statement, according to Axios. Yeah, I mean, I think those Republicans are correct that it was a bad statement. He shouldn't have made it. It's good to delete it, and he should apologize, and it was bad.
I mean,
what else can I say?
It was terrible and racist and awful, and it shouldn't be said about any community, Haitian community or any other community. I do think it is depressing, honestly, that a member of Congress tweets that. I mean, this is not some like rando on the internet who's just sounding off in some racist way. It's an elected member of the House of Representatives. I think that is fairly grim. I would certainly acknowledge the Republicans who did come out against it to their credit and called them out on it. I believe Speaker Johnson was a little more circumspect than I would like, not in terms of backing the tweet, but in defending the congressman. That stuff, I mean, I don't know what that helps. One could be liberal or conservative, have hawkish positions or permissive positions on immigration, but that stuff's just nonsense.
Sure, I mean, although it's interesting, Hakeem Jeffries, for instance, has not called on Eric Adams to resign, and it's like, again, we get back to this thing where like saying something bad and crazy is the greatest crime imaginable, I guess, more serious than actual corruption.
Well, Adams hasn't been proven to be corrupt, though. I mean, if he's convicted, presumably Hakeem Jeffries will call for his resignation.
And some people have called for his resignation now, and I think it would be appropriate to do so now. I think it's fine to go after Higgins to say that this was bad and to, you know, I'm not really big into censoring anyone. I think Republican attempts to censor whoever, Rashida Tlaib or whoever about anti-Israel or pro-Palestine statements, you know, I wasn't all about that either. I don't really think it's a great use of Congress's time to sit around, I don't know, doing procedures against each other for provocative or partisan or even ugly statements like is the case here. I just don't, it doesn't seem important to me, but certainly you can call it out. It should be called out. It was a bad thing.
The censure motion, I mean, it's a way of expressing disapproval. Certainly that tweet is richly deserving of disapproval. I take your point that it doesn't ultimately matter, and the more censure is used, the less significant it becomes. It's like I can't now remember all the people who've been censured or had those sort of resolutions against them. Didn't that happen to Steve King as well, yes. I think? So those are becoming, as they become used more frequently, their import probably decreases. But, you know, I don't, the free speech argument, which we've talked about a couple of times, it's the issue is not he can't say anything. The issue is it is very appropriate to push back very vigorously against
that's
statements
part of free
that are
speech.
terrible.
Yes, I agree.
So
and that's what's happening, and that's fine. You know, I think it would behoove everyone in government, or just everyone in general, but especially our elected representatives, to take a breath. Maybe you don't have to tweet the first thing that comes to mind every single time, but unfortunately, so many of our legislators, because there's no legislating to be done, I think now consider themselves almost pundits first.
Sure.
That's our job. Back off. Get back to the business of running the country.
It's also like the incentives now are very much aligned toward the inflammatory and toward the extreme, right? I mean, if you tweet about whatever legislation you might nominally be trying to pass, no one cares. But if you, this is, I think, one of these examples where someone misjudges where the edge is and goes flat out into what I consider outright racism. But there are certainly things that lawmakers can do short of that, that get them a lot of attention, that appeal to their partisan bases, that probably allow them to raise money and get media appearances. And so the motivation to constantly be out on the edge is always there. It's there for a lot of lawmakers, to the detriment, I would argue, of political debate and discourse in the country.
We'll be back with more Rising right after this.